channel.
Okay, now we got it working. All right. All right. Sorry
There
about
it
that,
is.
people. Sorry about that, people. All right, take two.
Man,
Again.
technology in fucking 2024, guys. Wow.
Jesus Christ, Craig is so difficult. All right, take two.
Jesus.
Welcome to the show, people. This is the NXT No Mercy review show. We are live on YouTube and we're live on Discord as well in the Wrestling Soup chat room. How's everybody doing tonight? We're back because last night we did our Bash in Berlin review show with RJ the Brooklyn Savage. Tonight we have another third man. It's Evil Dose Jeff Lippman. Jeff, I know you just said you had cookies.
Homemade.
Homemade cookies. That's
Yeah.
usually the best kind, but
Yeah, hot and piping.
Now
right.
I want to make some, but I'm too lazy to do that at 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday. So
I didn't do it. My wife did it. I'm definitely too lazy to do it.
there you go. Unfortunately for me, I don't have a wife that can bake me cookies at 9 o'clock at night. So,
Aw.
so good for you, man. Good for you.
I believe in you. Listen, I've had more than one, so I
Well, I
believe you can get
mean,
one.
do you believe in me like you believe in Joe Hendry?
Oh, maybe almost.
Nice.
Thanks.
I believe in both of you equally.
You
But
believe in me and Justin equally, or Justin and Joe Hendry equally?
I believe in Justin and Jeff equally.
Look, he just appeared, Joe Hendry.
There you go.
Yes,
You
sir.
just
All right.
appears out of nowhere, man. You gotta be careful.
He disappeared.
Nice. All right, so
Later.
let's get this shit started. So NXT No Mercy was just about 10 minutes ago. It's the beginning of September, so we got about 3 months left in the year. It's crazy to think about, but it's Sunday, and
Some people would
NXT
say 4 months, but
whatever.
maybe it's different in
NXT
Texas.
No Mercy hailed from Denver, Colorado, in the Ball Arena, home of the Denver Nuggets. There were 6 matches, so let's start with the first match. The first match, you had the NXT Tag Team Championships, Chase U versus Nathan Frazier and Axiom. Third time these, is it really the third time? Is it like the third or fourth time these two have faced each other, or these two teams have faced each other?
I'm not sure. I thought you had the information there in front of you, but
It might be the
I
fourth
think it's
time
probably
that
like
Chase.
third or fourth. Yeah.
It might be the fourth time that Chase U has faced Axiom, but it's not the fourth time that Andre Chase and Ridge Holland have faced.
There you
Axiom.
go. There you
Right.
go.
Okay, so yeah, because they had the match at Heat Wave last month, which Jeff was a part of, and then the tag team title match, which was like 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
So now this is the rubber match, essentially. I mean, what else can we say? I mean, just you kind of expected this to be the match that it was. It was a pretty good match. Not as good as the match at Heat Wave. Probably not as good as the match 2 weeks ago. Still a very good match. Ridge Holland, I thought looked really good out here. I thought this was maybe the best I've seen him look. Nathan Frazier is Nathan Frazier. He's a spitfire full of energy. It's weird because I saw Ridge Holland do a diving headbutt, which I kind of don't ever want to see him do that again. I don't want to see anyone do that again. But yeah, just it was kind of I don't want to say by the numbers kind of match, but it was kind of what you expected from these two. You expected these two teams to work as well as they did. Axiom and Frazier are just a very. I mean, I really do like them as a tag team. I wasn't expecting to like them as much as I do, but I do. They seem to play off of each other. I was expecting a heel turn in this match just from the wrong team. With Axiom and Frazier kind of butting heads for the past month. I was expecting Axiom to turn on Frazier, but that wasn't really the case. They kind of teased it later in the match when Axiom accidentally kicked Frazier in the face, and then whatchamacallit, Ridge Holland and Andre Chase do a powerbomb backbreaker, which Axiom kicks out of, which that kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit. I'm like, that should be a finish? Okay, whatever. And then later on, Axiom and Frazier got the win with his 360. So now they're the tag team champions again, two-time tag team champions. Two-time. After which Chase U celebrating in the ring, Duke Hudson and oh god, why am I blanking on the name? The other guy,
Riley
Riley
Osborne.
Osborne. There you go. They walk out of the ring to kind of give him some space. Ridge Holland attacks them both from behind, takes out Andre Chase, does what kind of looks like a future shock DDT on Chase on a table, and then Chase has to be carted out by the EMTs. And yeah, pretty much Ridge Holland killed Andre Chase. But yeah, now Ridge Holland's a heel, which I think everyone kind of suspected was going to happen from day one. I know Duke Hudson, put on Twitter, I hate to say when I'm right, or hate admitting that I'm right.
Yeah.
But overall, what'd you guys think?
I'll start off. I thought this was the match of the night. These four really, really mesh well together. We know how great that Axiom and Nathan Frazier are. They're two dynamic, individuals in the ring. I thought they were gonna lose tonight. I thought they were gonna do a breakup tonight, but we ended up getting Ridge Holland turning heel again. On Chase U. But with the match itself, Ridge Holland looked good. Andre Chase is so underrated that it's not even funny. Like, he's a guy that he kind of reminds me of like what FTR early AEW would do, where like all of a sudden you see Cash Word do like a fucking 450 out of nowhere. Where from before they just relied on their storytelling in the ring, and they'll start. They really stuck to, no flips, just fists, and Andre Chase was like, "What the fundamentals of wrestling," and that's what that's what Chase U is about, the fundamentals, and he did a fucking badass Spanish fly, a fucking beautiful,
That was nice.
Tiger Driver. You know what I mean? It's just like, holy shit, you know what I mean? So, Harlem Bravado, I've seen down the Indies where he can really go, but I haven't really seen it in NXT. And he brought it out in this match when it was necessary. So, I thought all four did very well with each other. Was wrong about the ending. Not mad about it, but I was wrong about the ending. And I don't care because I saw a damn good in-ring tag team match. The crowd was hot, and I think the crowd was at its hottest point all night during this match. But yeah, Axiom and Nathan Frazier. I mean, where do they go from here? There's really no real tag teams. I know they're gonna try to do a three-way, but you got Gallus. I don't really want to see Gallus in that position again. Hank and Tank. That'll be cool to see a different team there, but like I don't think they can go move for move with Axiom and Nathan Frazier in the ring. And you also got the Rascals, which I want to see, but I'm really thinking it's gonna be a way, like another way for Wesley to get back involved and screw over the Rascals. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to. Like, the match is gonna be great, but like I don't know if I want to see that just because I know what's gonna be coming from that. So, but to me, this was a match of the night. It was an awesome opener, and all four showed out.
Jeff.
What to say? What to say? Like everyone else, I was expecting the other team to break up. That seems to be the more of the story. The only explanation I can try to come up with, and I was trying through a lot of the show, and it was occupying a lot of my time thinking about why they do this. And the only thing I think of is that Axiom and Nathan Frazier are the only team that sort of work together so well explosively, and give the crowd that kind of fun, hot opener kind of feeling. But it's mostly because all of the other tag teams in NXT are either so raw, so green, or just not advancing, or just not interesting. Like I think Blade and Inoue could probably keep up close enough. But they've just been sort of zeros for 3 years. Hank and Tank, people think that they have that charisma, but I don't know. I just feel like you're getting heavy machinery off Wish whenever I see them. Gallus are player coaches, much like Andre Chase is a player coach. I mean, Chase University is a gimmick that works beautifully in NXT, and I don't think it would work in any other universe. You sort of knew that there was trouble when there's three people on the outside of Chase University and they do absolutely nothing. I mean, when you get Duke Hudson, Riley I know their faces, and Thea Hal, but they play almost no role in the outside activities. You sort of knew something was up. I don't know. I don't know that Ridge needs to prove himself as a heel. He's been a heel plenty. He's been a heel most of his career. He looks like a heel in NXT, especially. He looks like a bruiser. In WWE, not to deny his musculature, but he's kind of short. He sort of looks like if you clone Brock Lesnar, but you only got 65% there. I don't know. I thought the match was fun. I just don't really understand the point of it, of all of the teasing and the too many false finishes for my taste. Felt a little bit like a Top Flight versus the Young Bucks match kind of thing, where no finisher was a finisher, and this whole seeding of Fraxium breaking up. I guess that's going to keep on going, and eventually it's going to be a breakup. But at that point, we'll have the Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty effect, or we'll just be like the Boy Who Cried Wolf that we don't care anymore. But I guess that's a problem for another day. I think they're just there to hold down the tag team division, and I think also Justin hit on it that they're expecting a barn burner between the Rascals and somebody, and this is the only team they can have a barn burner with. Hard for me to get excited about this. I don't deny what you said about Andre Chase. I think he's actually a very good technician, but he doesn't look like a wrestler. He doesn't pass my airport test. Neither does Axiom. Neither does Trey Miguel or Zachary Wentz. So I really have very little interest in any of these guys. So I don't know what to tell you. You often say it on the show that I'm a size queen. I'm not sure I'm really a queen, but I definitely am a sizist. So if I'm a queen, I've been doing a pretty lousy job of it, and I need retraining.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll call you a queen per se.
Well, me, I'm just from your lips to God's ears. You said it yourself, and I quote, "I'm a size queen."
No, I said I'm a sizist. I'm a sizist.
Okay.
Sizes.
Okay. All right.
Like,
Size
oh,
king.
just like how I'm a fat sis.
Right. Maybe listen. I can't deny. I don't know that I've never said size queen, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. I don't think anyone on the show cares about that, and I don't care about it that much. I didn't care that much about this match. I don't really care that much about the title change either, just because I think the tag team division in NXT on the men's side is pretty bad. Conversely, I think the women's side is pretty good, but they don't have tag team titles down there.
Yeah. I mean, they don't need tag team titles at this point.
No.
Yeah, but I think the women's division is like super deep. Like that's the best part of NXT right now is the women's division on how deep
Well, I
they
agree.
are.
I think that's exactly why they do need tag teams down, the tag team titles down there. Something for another 12 women to be focusing on, and they need women's tag teams on the main roster. So where they get them from, they need to develop them someplace. Anyway, that's But as far as the match was concerned, it was entertaining enough. It was hot. It wasn't boring. That's for sure. It's just I was not particularly invested in it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we're going to move on to the next match. Wesley versus Zachary Wentz. Zachary Wentz is the new TNA X Division champion. Won it on Friday. So good for him. I don't know, just like for a match that's supposed to be like a grudge match, that Wes turned his back on his brother, and they're out for blood essentially. Zachary's out for blood. Maybe I kind of hope for too much. I was kind of hoping for more of a, not necessarily a ground and pound match, but more just like them beating the shit out of each other. And it was just more of a, not necessarily a spot fest, but just them doing their moves. Which again, I didn't hate the match. I actually did enjoy the match more so, and I would say like the last 5 to 7 minutes. For a big chunk of it, it was just them doing a lot of spots and high risk kind of moves, which I kind of expected. Because Wes, like I do like Wesley, I do like Zachary Wentz, but they're also small guys, so I guess I wasn't really expecting them to.
I guess you're becoming the sizes now, huh?
There you go.
In some ways, yes and no. Not as bad as Jeff though, but in some ways I kind of am and I'm kind of
You
not.
mean as good
But
as Jeff?
yeah, sure. But yeah, like I said, the match to me picked up a lot more in like the last 7 minutes. Obviously, the crowd liked it. Obviously, social media loved it. So what do I know? Towards the end of the match, Wes starts to work a little bit more aggressively, and that was kind of another thing I was kind of pointing out. Like, I need him to be a little bit more aggressive as a heel and just start laying in those punches and just being a dick. And he does start doing it in the second half of the match. He goes for a steel chair. Trey Miguel grabs the chair. Zachary Wentz takes advantage of it and does his move, which is called the UFO, which is a pretty cool looking move. And Zachary Wentz gets the win, which I didn't expect. I was expecting West to get the win, but Zach got the win. So this isn't just going to be like a one and done feud. They're going to obviously continue this. But what'd you guys think?
I have a theory on why Zachary Wentz got the wins because he just won the TNA title or the X Division title. I'm believing that there could have been some type of political power that was pushed. Well, like our guy just won the X Division title. He can't lose tonight.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Possibly. I'm not saying that's what happened for sure, but I'm saying that could be a possibility. But thought the match was fine. It wasn't anything great, but to your point of like, of them, not really like it didn't really feel like a bad blood match. I agree, but that's basically asking them to change what they do and just
Right.
change it. And I don't know if that would have made the match any better than what we got tonight.
Right.
If it would just been punch, kick, brawl, 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 some high flying stuff, could have been better. Who knows? Maybe, but I think what the people wanted to see, they just wanted to see these two just go balls to the wall and do their high flying and stuff. And by all means, it wasn't really balls to the wall. There was story that was told they were selling. I thought the match was fine for what it was. I mean, but was I a little bit disappointed? Um, as far as what my expectations was concerned, yeah, a little bit. But at the end of the day, though, this is not a one-off match. I believe that they're going to have a match at Bound for Glory. They're going to be here in San Antonio this week coming up here, and I believe that I believe Wesley may end up showing up here at the pay-per-view, or even at the tapings as well. So I think this is far from over. I think they're going to continue on TNA. I think they may have a match at Bound for Glory, possibly for the X Division Championship. So, and maybe Wesley will win it there. I don't know. We'll see. So,
What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I hope that Justin's right about the last point because otherwise, this whole thing is a failure to launch. And I think it was a failure to launch before the entire match started. I mean, the whole the whole turn, and then the promo a week later where they faced each other. You could see they were trying not to crack smiles and not to crack up. I mean, it never felt real. It always felt staged. It always felt like they were play acting and they weren't acting very well.
Right.
Um, I could see
Point.
Wesley looking like he had a smile in his eyes, there was a twinkle in his eyes when they were facing when he's in his blue sweater and they're facing each other, and Zach Wentz is trying to look mean, and it looks like he's about to laugh, but not in a crazy way like the Joker. And I don't know
I
none. Go ahead.
No, I love the fact that you pointed that out because like something to me has just felt very off about this heel turn. I never could really point out why. And you beautifully illustrated it. Is just it doesn't feel real. It legit feels choreographed. But go ahead.
Yeah, it feels very paint by numbers, but like worse. It feels empty. It felt almost like vapid to me, which is has too much negativity in it, but nevertheless. And then this match, I didn't feel like it had any emotion. And the interesting thing was that Zach Wentz won the X Division Championship, and he was coming out with it. And I thought, it would be interesting if Wesley won because the title was not on the line. Then he goes to TNA and says, I beat your champion on a PLE out on a title. I demand the title shot. And then they can continue. At this point, Zachary Wentz won. I mean, I was expecting Wesley to cost Zachary Wentz the match Friday night on Emergence, and he
Yeah.
didn't show up there. I mean, I thought it might be interesting to have Hammerstone, as next division champion, like they did with Samoa Joe, 15 years ago or whatever. But and in any event, I think it was a bad idea to have this match immediately after the tag team match, which was sort of the same kind of pace and the same kind of style. Um, on the plus side, I think it's good that you didn't do the usual when you're in NXT people win. When you're in TNA people win. So there was a little element of surprise there. I think it's bad, though, that it's very clear that title changes and title exchanges is not part of this arrangement, this relationship between TNA and NXT, which might be a relief to some, but it does make it feel a whole lot less interesting to me. That said, it can develop. As trust develops, as things go forward, that can change, but right now it seems like that's the formula. And we saw it again. I think a lot of people were expecting Joe Hendry to win, or at least have a better case for the win tonight, and that didn't happen. I'm not sure I did. I'm not even sure I put predictions on the record for this show. But I'm a little bit more interested in the behind the scenes stuff than on the on camera stuff, and so this everyone, the TNA thing, I like it. I think it's interesting, but I don't think it's nearly as deep as people are trying to pretend that it is, and I don't know that it's nearly as impactful. No pun intended for TNA as people are making. I mean, they still haven't broken the top 150 more than like 4 times in the last 4 months. And they've been working with NXT for 2 or 3 months of those times. So I mean, yes, they're selling more tickets to their live events, and they claim that they broke their subscription records, once. That's all good. I just don't know if any of that is sustained or sustainable. In any event, the match itself, I was much more invested in eating my hot cookies than I was watching this match.
I think the problem with the current TNA NXT deal that's going on. I mean, I'm enjoying it, but I think eventually NXT needs to send some of their heavy hitters to TNA, like Trick Williams, like Roxanne. Because I love Tatum Paxley, but she's not a draw. I like Wesley, but he's not a draw. So they need to put some of their heavy hitters on the show. Have Oba versus Hammerstone. Like, please. Like, I want that. Have Josh Alexander versus Trick, I'm just throwing out an example. So, but yeah, just I do agree on some points. It's on paper it sounds like it's doing well, but in reality it's not really hitting its stride the way it should be, if that makes sense.
Another thing as well is that as I mentioned before is that like when people wanted Joe Hendry to win the NXT championship the first time around, right? Or the TNA championship. I'm sorry, not NXT, but the TNA championship the first time around. They're like, oh, Joe Hendry, oh, he should have won. You're acting fake because is Joe Hendry winning TNA championship? Is that gonna make you tune in to TNA, or are you still gonna watch from afar and not actually watch the show? So it's kind of like the same thing here, where it's like, well, it's like, oh, well, let's send these guys over and this guy, which I totally agree. But are you really gonna add in another 2-hour program into your wrestling rotation? Probably not. So unless if they send over, maybe Trick Williams, that may help out. But they'll have to send some bigger names than that over there. It has to be someone like an AJ Styles or like a Bobby Roode just showing up for like a random appearance or something like that, and it's like advertised and whatever. Like I just think that a lot of the outrage, it's not necessarily fake outrage, but the outrage it's not gonna translate into viewership
Right.
and social media engagement and super increasing in ticket sales, because they do have increasing ticket sales, but like I don't really think it's gonna really make that huge of a difference with TNA unless if they really send some guys over there that will really truly make a difference. So that's
Right.
my opinion.
Agreed. Next is we have the NXT Women's North American Championship. Kalani Jordan versus Wendy Chu. Yeah, this match felt long. I don't know about you guys. This match felt long. Um, I like Wendy Chu. I think she's very talented. It's just she kind of falls into that Nikki Cross category of like, yeah, talented wrestler, but you know, been saddled with gimmick after gimmick after gimmick. Can't really find anything that sticks. And I think the gimmicks that they give her just they feel forced on her, and they don't feel, and it doesn't feel like she's actually, I guess, committed to the gimmick. Like she goes out there and tries to make it work, but it doesn't really feel like it fits her. If that makes sense to you guys. But yeah, just again, good wrestler. Just what else can you do with her? But and then Kalani's Kalani. Kalani's great. Love Kalani. Um, really, really needs to find something that works for her creatively. Because again, it's NXT, so I forget, it's developmental. That's the point of it. But she really does need to find a gimmick or just something creative for her, and she needs to get better on the mic. That is all.
What would be
But
your suggestion as far as gimmick for Kalani Jordan? Not everyone needs a gimmick, by the way, but yeah.
I mean, you kind of do. I mean, by gimmick, it's not always like wear a mask or whatever. It's more so just like it's like what The Rock always said. In wrestling, you're you with the volume turned up to 100. So I think she needs to become a heel. Just in my opinion.
Do you think
Um,
people will want to boo Kalani Jordan? Do you think she'll be a believable heel?
I think she could be. I mean, because being a heel has worked wonders for most people. It worked
A
for, again,
smile like that cannot be a heel, in my opinion.
eventually
She
if they start booing her.
okay, well, you know what I mean. But is there a reason? Is there a reason for her to be booed right now?
I mean, she could be a heel like if she loses the title, for example. She can get pissed off and be like, I did the good girl thing by smiling and kissing babies and taking pictures with you idiots, and now it's about me. It's
So do
about
exactly
Lonnie.
what Roxanne's doing.
I mean, it's
That's
worked
what
for most
happened,
people.
pretty much. But I get where I get where you're coming from. I'm just saying from the point of like I don't really necessarily agree with that. I think Kalani feels to me like a natural baby face.
Right.
Does she need an edge? Yes, she
Yeah.
needs a little bit more of an edge, but I don't think we need to, flatly turn her heel because that's the same thing that we did with Roxanne. Although Roxy, she's doing a great job with it, but like how many times can you wash, rinse, repeat? Eventually, you gotta have some of these white meat baby faces just be white meat baby faces and just get over. She does need work on the mic. She does need more of an edge, but I don't necessarily think that she'll need like a gimmick per se, or or more attractive character. If they just work on her mic skills and also as well give her more of an edge, she'll develop a natural character that way versus just like forcing something where it's like, I don't know if I don't know if I'm really with it or I don't know if I'm really behind this. But
Right.
as far as this match was concerned, match was fine. It wasn't great or anything like that. Obviously, it's developmental. Kalani is still green. Wendy is the veteran in there. But Wendy Chu, I think she is. I will say that she is underrated, but I think people know like what a hand Wendy Chu could be. But her gimmick, I'm not really into right now. I'm into when she was more of the baby face, when she was like doing more of the sleeping gimmick, and it was the more comedy. This is supposed to be serious, but it's the sleepy gimmick, but it's like she's having nightmares now, and it's like the nightmare side of it, whatever. I don't know, but again, like she did this gimmick. Then she had the babyface gimmick of this same gimmick, and then she had the what was the one with Bo and Xia Li? What
Tian
was the
Sha.
name? It was what?
Tian Sha. That was
Yes,
the
yes,
group's name,
yes,
and
yes,
her name
yes,
was
yes.
was very close to Mia Yim. It wasn't Mia Yim, but it was very close to
It
that.
was like
Yeah.
it was like Mama something, Mother something, or whatever.
Well, let's see. I
Well,
can
it
look
was
it up.
Chinese. It was in Chinese, so it wasn't mother.
Mei Ling, Mei Ying,
It was something like that. It was like
Mei
Ma Ling
Ying.
or something.
Yeah. Because she was when she first came in, she was carrying Q, for the Mae Young Classic. But anyway, regardless of all of that, as far as the match was concerned, I thought it was fine. It's a developmental match. This could have been very well on NXT TV, which was like a couple of these matches tonight. I was like, yeah, this could just be on regular TV. But I understand they needed a pay per view. Could they put someone else there in this position for Kalani to go up against? Absolutely. But they decided to do Winju because she just came back and they kind of want to have a safe match, and that's what it was. This was a safe match. Nothing grandiose about it. Nothing sexy about it. It was just a match, and at one point, I thought Kalani was selling, pretty good. You know what I mean? But it was never in doubt that I thought Kalani was gonna win. So
Right.
yeah.
Jeff,
Topic.
thoughts?
A lot of topics here. I guess we'll start with Wendy Chu. Um, I will say the quiet part out loud. She's not particularly pretty. She's short and she's fat. So she's
Disagree with her being not pretty, but continue.
okay. So there's really not any place for her to go into superstardom. That said, I think she's also like a player coach. I think she's basically like Natty was down there, and Natty is on the main roster. I think that Wendy Chu, Fallon Henley, and JC Jane all play sort of a player coach type of role down there, and they are sort of gatekeepers. As far
Maybe
as
not Fallon.
uh, as far as not committing to her gimmick, I disagree entirely. I think she commits to it very well. I think she plays it very well. Whether you like the gimmick or not, that's fair enough. As far as I don't think they give gimmicks. I think that she came up with this sleeping one, and I think that she realized that it was sort of Orange Cassidy-esque without having the staying power or the same kind of fans. And I think she came up with this Nightmare Before Christmas Tim Burton version. Is it a little bit too much like The Fiend and what Nikki Cross is doing, and even to an extent Tatum Paxley? Yeah, but they've done that before in NXT where people have had duplicate gimmicks because they know not everyone's going to make it. Not everyone's supposed to make it. It's like, it's like college football matriculating to the NFL and then to training camp. They're going to start out with 105 players but end up with 55. So, um, so I think Wendy Chu is doing a good job. I thought the match was fine. I don't think it was exceptional. There was one botch, but I think they covered it okay. They both sort of slipped off the rope. I'm not sure if that was Wendy it slipped off or Kalani never got position, but they both knew enough to roll with it, and they missed a half a beat, but they picked it back up. As far as Kalani, I don't. I think it's really premature to panic on her at all. She's been wrestling 18 months total from the day she walked into the PC to now. I think she's brilliant. I think she's great. I think she's
Yeah.
delightful. I agree with Justin. Not everyone needs a gimmick. She's a nice girl. Like, I mean, what does she need? Bailey buddies and turn into a hugger? I mean, that's just one additional. But you guys talked about Roxanne Perez. Perfect example. We could have been having the same conversation about Roxanne Perez 6 months ago, and she's killing it as a heel. So don't count out what Kalani can do in the future. But right now, she's still learning the craft, and whether she ever needs to be a heel or not, I think again, reasonable minds can differ, but fear not, she will be. Because in NXT, everyone, whether they want to or not, plays both heel and face before they get to the main roster, which is why you see sometimes character changes that make absolutely no sense or sort of seem to come out of nowhere. And then 3 weeks later, you just have to go with the flow because it is vocational training school. So at some point we'll see her. Now, how does that happen? I don't know. If you want me to fantasy book it when Cora Jade comes back, maybe Cora Jade keeps telling her what's going to happen, and it keeps happening, including Cora Jade taking her title away from her, and then she turns on whoever her better angel mentor was in something savage, and if she does something savage, then you boo her because the nice girl isn't supposed to turn into the savage, but sort of like Brenda Walsh turning into Shannon Doherty, and on your, on camera. Rest in peace, but not known for being a nice woman. Anyway, but the match was fine. I don't know what the panic is about Kalani. I think Brother Monty, who I saw his tweet, got into your head there, Drucifer.
No, no, I don't allow other people to influence my opinions. I was thinking this already.
All
Again,
right.
I'm not panicking. I love Kalani. I've said this more than once. I love Kalani. I adore her. I think for somebody that's had like a year and a half of wrestling training, like she's very, very, very good. She's also very, very, very green. But again, this is developmental, which I admit I fall into that trap of like, these people are green, but this is developmental, so I need to stop. Again, not everyone does need a
That's not a
gimmick.
trap. That's
What was that?
exactly how you're supposed. That's not a trap. That's exactly how you're thinking about, because you're a wrestling fan, so you want to see certain things, but then you remember and you check yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right, and again, I'll correct myself. Not everyone does need a gimmick. I just eventually she's gonna need like a personality change, not a big one, but just a slight one to kind of like get her to that Roxanne level. Because now Roxanne is doing great with her character change. Does she need to be exactly like Roxanne? Not necessarily, but yeah, eventually yeah, I think she will get better because she has good people in the
I'll give you
performance center.
another easy one, other than the one I just fantasy booked before. Is that all the success, money starts going to her head, and she changes. She starts wearing a fur coat and carrying around a little shishi Gucci dog and whatever, and thinking their shit don't stink. She walks around with a little glam squad and a like a sommelier or a butler or whatever. She drives around in a
Sommelier.
convertible. Yeah,
I'm,
okay. Like, she drives around in a convertible, Maybach or something.
hmm,
So, all
that
of a sudden that
works.
goes to her head. She doesn't even know she's changed, but everyone else does. So, it isn't hard.
And she's also dating Carmelo Hayes, so that can be a thing of like my man taught me to know my worth. Like she can do something like that. So, but all right. So let's move on to the next match. We have the NXT Men's North American Championship. Obafemi versus Tony D'Angelo. Um, I really like this match. I thought this was a very physically competitive match. Earlier, it looked like Tony might have sprained his ankle. There was kind of a nasty spot where Oba and Tony ran into each other, and it looked like Oba kind of inadvertently stepped on his foot.
Yeah, it's kind of like what happens like in the NBA where someone rolls their ankle or whatnot. But I would like to assume a lot of these wrestlers they tape their foot before they put their boots on. But I may be wrong about that.
Yeah, but the
So
way he folded, it looked like, something. It didn't look like an ankle. And Booker thought that he got hit in the private parts inadvertently, and I did too. And he might have. I mean, both things could have happened. He could have rolled his ankle and you know gone straight into the gigantic thighs of the shock puck champion. Um, yeah, but aside from that, I agree with you, Drew. I think, yeah, actually finish up. Yeah, I don't know what that injury was, but obviously they worked through it. So obviously it's not serious, or Tony was able to work through it.
Yeah, eventually he kind of shook it off, and yeah, they wanted to have a really competitive match. Um, the crowd was kind of weird, and usually Denver crowds are kind of weird because you can't tell if they're enjoying something or if they're kind of ho hum. But you can kind of hear that they were really enjoying this match. And I was enjoying it too. Tony's not a small guy. Like he's kind of a not a tall guy, but kind of I guess a thick kind of like stocky guy. So for him to be able to throw on Obo the way he was throwing him around, it was believable. It was believable for him. And I again, going back to me saying I forget this is developmental. I kind of pointed something out from Heatwave where Oba was having the match with Wes, and I kind of noticed something's kind of off about the match. This is obviously the opposite, where Oba not only needs smaller guys, he needs better guys. Not just small, big guys to work with that will still make his shit look good. And Tony did a great job. Like Jeff, is it fair to say Tony is almost kind of like a player coach?
I think he absolutely is one of the player coaches. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, he made Oba look like $1 million while at the same time not making him look bad. I don't know. There's probably going to be people online saying, "Oh, Oba shouldn't be getting thrown around." It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Tony's kind of like on his level as far as size wise goes or strength. But yeah, this is fun. This is a good match. Um, was for a second I was expecting the family to kind of get involved, but that wasn't really the case. There was a point where Oba grabbed a crowbar, and Shanning and I forget what the other guy's name is. They kept grabbing it from him.
Josefino.
Sofino.
Crucifino, there you go. Another lawyer. And Oba takes them out. And I thought there was going to be a spot where, oh God, what's her name? The girl. Rizzo.
Who
She
looked phenomenal, by the way, tonight. I will say.
She does look phenomenal.
I need all the gabagool possible.
Gabagool. I thought there was going to be a spot where she grabs the crowbar, and Oba kind of makes this. Oba kind of makes his face like, ooh, you don't really want to do this, girly, but that wasn't really the case. But Oba ends up getting the win by power bombing Tony twice. The second being the sit down power bomb, which I like the fact that he's doing a Batista bomb. I think that kind of fits him more rather than the one he was doing before. But I like that storytelling of like Oba wasn't really taking him seriously, but then realized I got to put him away because he's going to keep coming back. So he does 2 power bombs. So Oba's still the North American champion. Fantastic match. It was my match of the night. What'd you guys think?
I wouldn't say it was fantastic, but thought it was good. I was yeah, it was good. It was good. I'm too like okay to good. This was a very meat mountain type match. Nothing wrong with that, but but the story here, to your point, I did like the story with Oba not really taking Tony seriously. Then eventually you had to take him seriously, and I really think that the injury per se, I think that kind of derailed the match a little bit. You could tell he was a little bothered by, whatever was going on with him. It didn't like really kill the match, but you could tell like it did have some type of impact on the match though. But but I will say this. Though. I thought Alba is a fucking monster. So I mean, so that's one of the positive things I can definitely say about this match. Alba is a monster. And Tony, I mean, like he has I guess you want to call him the NXT 2.0 4 pillars, right? Because you had Tony, you had I was gonna say Theory, but you had Waller. I'm sorry, Waller. Then you had fucking Mello, and then you had Braun Breaker, right? So he's the last one that's left that's there, and he eventually will be on the main roster with the family. I just don't know. I know what's holding him back right now is not his gimmick, is not his mic skills, is not his presentation. It's I will say it's his in ring. I think he needs to come up with have a little bit more exciting things in his moveset. And I love Tony. He's one of my favorite ones in NXT. But I will say, I can admit that his offense is just there. Nothing offensive about it, but nothing like great about it either. So I think he needs to develop more of a better moveset for him to really start to be taken seriously. Even in the main event picture of NXT, I just don't think he doesn't have that moveset to have great NXT title matches. It's just there. So if he can improve on that, then sky's the limit for him. But just as right now, it's just like it's just there. But again, that's what developmental is for, and hopefully he can come around on that. But I thought the match was good, fine.
Do you think he maybe needs to have more of a ground and pound style?
I mean, that's what he has already.
Well, I meant as far as like it looks more believable and it looks like he's actually hurting people in that sense.
He needs to add, like, I don't know, man, like he needs to do like suplexes, like Germans and belly to bellies, and
Right.
kind of add that into his repertoire. A little bit more of like because he does like power slams and stuff too as well. But like I don't know, he needs to add some type of element to it. I mean, I don't know if that is really gonna get him more over in ring wise. I don't. I don't know. Actually, I'll tell you this. No, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that whatsoever. But you know what I mean? Because his offense is already slow already. He needs to like kind of beef it up and make it more exciting. What that is, again, I'm kind of mentioning a couple things, but I don't even know if that's really gonna help. But again, I like Tony D. I love Tony D. Love the gimmick. Paisan. Italiano. I love it. But as far as if he wants to get to that next level, he needs to, spice up a little bit in the moveset department.
I don't know. He kind of you might call me crazy by saying this. Like when he wrestles, kind of reminds me of Tommy Dreamer almost. Like he doesn't really do anything overly impressive or great. It's serviceable. I guess that's the best way to put it.
I'm sort of between you and Justin. I definitely don't think it was
I don't
fantastic.
think so, but okay.
But I think it was better than good. I mean, there was, the botch injury, ankle turn, whatever that was. That certainly threw things off kilter. But I don't know if that affected the rest of the match or not. We might find out that it does. I think the issue that we're all having with Tony D is that right now his character is a tweener, but his wrestling style never changes. I think he's supposed to be a face now, but he still wrestles the same as a heel. And essentially, he's a Greco-Roman college-style wrestler, and he hasn't added a whole lot of moves to it. I don't know if that's because no one's telling him to, saying you don't have to. I don't know if it's because he's not able to execute them convincingly. What I like to see more from him, if anything, is when is speed. You can do the same moves, but just be a little bit faster. I mean, Roman Reigns wrestles very methodically, but when he needs to turn on the Superman punch or the spear, it blows out of there. And I'm not saying Tony D will ever be Roman Reigns, but he is kind of the same character. He's the leader of a family, sort of a crime family or whatever that's supposed to have some influence over their sphere. I've got issues with how his family looks as well. I mean, I think that he needs some goons that look like Nick Camarado, and sort of like these big, sort of. I'm not saying that he's a good wrestler. I'm saying that
I
he's
get you.
6'2", 280, and hairy. Like he needs people to look like Rusev and Nick Camarado, and just they look like muscle. And if we don't want to get ethnic, then give him AOP. That's the perfect two muscle for a gangster. Chaz looks like an AEW wrestler, or Stax Tanning, whatever his name is. I like Nico Crucifini. I like his look. I like the sort of buff lawyer thing. He's got the right look and all that. Anyway, match was fine. I mean, I think you touched on it, but Obafemi did 3 slightly different power bombs during the course of this match, which is good because despite being gigantic, I think his finisher half the time sucks, especially with bigger guys. As strong as he is, he has trouble sort of like really sticking the finish. Tonight he didn't. The pop-up power bomb he's got trouble with. The regular power bomb was good, and then the Batista bomb where he lands with his legs over the shoulders, that was perfect. So I really enjoyed that because Obafemi is sort of in this class of male wrestlers of heavyweight to super heavyweight. He sort of stands alone. I mean, Tavian Heights seems to be like the next one that seems to have a chance as being so. I mean, Nathan Frazier certainly could be. Wes Lee could be, but Wes Lee isn't that young, and they're both, cruiserweights. So I don't really know who else is well, Trick also. I mean, but Ethan Page to me is just okay. Joe Hendry is just okay. I mean, Sean Spears is just okay. I mean, he's not young either, but I'd like to see more Josh Briggs. Brooks Jensen, I don't know why they're still investing time on that guy. Anyway, we're not talking about any of that. I thought the match was fine. Right guy won. I'm liking what I'm seeing developing with Oba. I'm liking how, even though there was a botch sort of towards the beginning of the match, that didn't let him stop. His facials never changed. He still had the confidence, that smile like I'm going to kill you whenever I want look on his face. His face never changed. Even if he was legit concerned, it never got to his eyes. And so all praise for that. I think both these guys did a good job, and both of them will be on the main roster and be fine.
One
Right.
thing I will say is that I know they're booking Obafemi as a killer, but like whoever beats him, like it has to be believable. Like I'm not gonna believe. Let's say Wesley. I know it's probably not gonna be him, obviously, because they already did that. But let's say someone like Wesley beats someone's like, you beat Obafemi. So whoever is up next in line to win the NXT North American Championship, it has to be believable. And I hope Shawn Michaels and team, I hope they know who they have in mind and know what kind of story that they're gonna tell.
Right. And then it was kind of worth noting after the match, you saw like a quick glimpse of Oba kind of giving the side eye to Tony as almost like a nod of respect, of like, hey, you had me, but I won. All right. Next is you had the NXT Women's Championship, Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker. I had no idea how tall Jada was, or is Roxanne just really that small? But
There's
again,
a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
yeah, she kind of dwarfs Roxanne, which that worried me in the beginning. I'm like, is it going to be like a a difference in styles? But no, like these two ended up having a really good match. The
Roxy's
crowd,
super small. Like I've met her many times, and she's like barely 5 foot tall.
the crowd was surprisingly pro Jada. Like you heard, let's go Jada, let's go Roxy.
Jada's the
And
babyface in this feud.
Yeah, Jada really was impressive in this match. Again, it wasn't perfect. There were, some, I guess, not really noticeable botches. Again, the theme of this is that it's developmental, so it's not always going to be, perfect. But I thought Jada was
That
really good out
powerbomb
there.
that she did to Roxy could have been potentially dangerous because she didn't have her all the way up for that powerbomb. She kind of like had her like near like like the top of her chest instead of like it was kind of dangerous a little bit with that powerbomb. I don't know if you know what spot I'm talking about, but
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And again, another story in the match is that Jada had hurt ribs. Which, when did she hurt her ribs? Because I don't even remember her getting hurt.
it wasn't the week. It wasn't last week, but I believe the week before. I believe.
Okay. And then yeah, the story was just Roxanne working on her ribs and you know, being, the vet, which is weird. It's weird to think of Roxanne as a vet and she's only 22, but she's been doing this for quite a while. But yeah, this was a pretty good match. I think it started to really click in like the second half of the match. Again, the crowd was very surprisingly pro Jada. They were really taking to Jada. And I like Jada. I think Jada so far is my pick for most improved. But we'll see. We only have about 3 months to go, or 4 months according to Jeff. But yeah, this is a pretty good match in the second half. In the end, there was a spot where they were both outside, and Jada tries to run into Roxanne in the barricade, and then she runs through the barricade. And I don't know if that was the same spot, but I just know towards the end of the match, Jada and Roxanne were outside the ring. They were trying to make it inside the ring before the count. Roxanne goes for pop rocks. 1, 2, 3. Before we get to the aftermath, and we kind of figured what the aftermath was going to be. What were your guys' thoughts on the match?
Um, it was good. It was good. It wasn't great. I'm seeing people saying that this was like a great women's match and maybe NXT women's match of the year. I'm like,
No, 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 no,
like
no.
guys, like let's. I know y'all like Jada, but let's stop fucking fake lying, man. It was good. It was good. It was good. Obviously Jada's green, right? And this is developmental, and she's going to have these she needs to have these types of matches in order to learn. When she came out, she was clearly taking it in and very emotional coming out. So I'm pretty sure she was nervous as shit. And once the bell ring, it seemed like for the most part that she was, forgetting about, that she was on this stage, but at the same time, There was a couple mistakes in the match. She didn't kill the match for me, but man, how great is Roxy, man?
Mhm.
Like to pull out a match with Jada Park. Not saying Jada is bad or anything like that, but just to pull this match with Jada and to make it a very serviceable, good match. Um, Jada didn't need to win here. Seeing some people calling for them like again. No, she's way too early for that. She will win titles for sure. She Jada Parker, what she got is down rate is her charisma. Her
Right.
charisma is like she got her charisma down. What if she can get the wrestling part of it down? And she's very athletic as well. If she get the wrestling part of it down, man, God, man, sky's the limit for this woman, man, because she has the look, very pretty, very easy on the eyes, right? Very charismatic, right? And she's coming along, she's developing. To your point, Drew, you're saying that she may be, for you at least, most improved, and she's definitely a candidate for sure. But just at the end of the day, though, I thought this match served the purpose they need to serve. Gave Jada this opportunity, and this is really Shawn Michaels saying like, "Hey, can you swim at the deep end?" And I think she floated tonight. And again, not perfect, wasn't a grand slam, but at the end of the day, hey, if this is a on base triple, hey, that's pretty good for Miss Jada Parker. So, thought the match overall was fine.
All right, Jeff.
This was my match of the night. If you had told me half a year ago Roxanne Perez would be one of the best and most convincing heels in women's wrestling, I would have called you a goddamn liar. And as the non-chicken shit undersized heel who knows exactly how she has to wrestle as being undersized and still win and use every tactical advantage and every trick in the book without them being dirty tricks necessarily, staying within the rules, it's actually sort of brilliant. I mean, she reminds me of original heel Shawn Michaels, but he had sensational Sherry helping him along, and then sometimes some other big guys that you might remember. She's doing this by herself. She doesn't have anyone, and it's phenomenal watch. I mean, the only thing that's going to hold her back is that she's so damn small. I mean, she might be 5'1.5". I mean, she's not 5'1". She might not even be 5 feet.
Yeah, she's probably about just 5 feet even.
Yeah, I mean that feels about right. I've seen her in person. I mean, wrestling. I'm not close by, but I mean, you can get a sense of who she's next to and whatnot. I mean, anyway, I thought it was a really good match. I thought Jada did exactly what she needs to do. Is she ready for the main roster? And is she going to be headlining takeovers and when start talking about like Sasha and Bailey? Now, no. Will I be surprised if in a year that she is? I mean, the difference between the first 8 months and the second year for Kalani Jordan is night and day. The difference between year one and year two for Tiffany Stratton, night and day. The difference between year one and year two for Sol Ruka, night and day. I mean, and we can go on and on. NXT is a women's wrestling factory. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the men. Those poor guys, half this match I was thinking those poor guys from out of the mud because they're big. They're like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", like 260, 270-pound guys. Like they could be like the new Road Warriors or whatever. Finally we're going to get some big tag teams here. They put her with Jada Parker. That's great. The new girl, give her something to do. She eclipses them almost immediately.
Yeah,
She's like
Well,
she's lapped them like she's Mario Andretti, and they're
well,
like me jogging.
well, one of them is dating Lola Vice, so they're winning at life.
I don't care about that. None of that matters. And by the way, Lola Vice is going to date a whole lot more people before she settles down. Don't worry.
It's still
Um,
it's still a notch on your cap, but go ahead.
okay, I'm done cap notching, but game respect game. Anyway, the anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I thought it was booked very well. Was it precise? No, it wasn't precise, and I think that's what Justin was talking about. Like it wasn't fine tuned at places where it could have been and should have been fine tuned, but she'll get there. She'll get there, and by her I mean Jada. It's also and
Yeah.
as good as Roxanne is, the worst women's match I ever saw in person was Roxanne Perez versus Willow Nightingale, and both of them are very good. It's just Willow was too big for Roxanne to do the match they were trying to do. She just couldn't do it, and that's going to be Roxanne. So her problem, so her wrestling like this is good, but people are going to get sick of it really quickly. She should have someone like a Camille or that German wrestler that everybody was showing, with the lat spread that she looks like Davy Boy Smith, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Bozilla?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Or if Delta is as jacked as they say she is, maybe she comes in as the bodyguard. But Roxanne
I think,
Perez
no, I
is
think
someone that
Bozzilla's more jacked than Delta, but I
okay.
digress.
Who's more jacked than Delta?
Bozilla,
Oh,
the
well,
German chick.
Bozilla is more. Yeah, well, Bozilla is more jacked than lots of people. Like she's like
Right.
Luchasaurus, but I just don't know if she's ready. But anyway, she give her 2 bodyguards. I don't care. I mean, whatever. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. This match got me in the right mood for the main event. I have to tell you, up until this point, I was just like, Bash in Berlin was shorter. It was better, simple, told the stories. NXT's always felt wholesome. Watching WWE hasn't always felt wholesome, but now it feels wholesome. I don't mean wholesome like it's healthy or whatever. I just mean like it's sort of simple. The stories are simple. It's easy to follow. It's easy to digest. They're not trying to be ECW. It's like it's sort of there can be brutal moments like when Obi-Wan Kenobi cuts off 4 of Darth Vader's limbs, but most of the time and they surprise you. But I don't know. At this match, it started to turn me over and say, yeah, NXT is still delightful.
All right. And then, so after the match, the debut of Julia. The name we've been hearing a lot. At one point was what the number 1 highest rated women's wrestler in PWI, number 2, I believe. And yeah, she's finally in NXT. I mean, she kind of debuted at one of the takeovers, but this is actually her like debut, like appearing in a wrestling ring, confronting Roxanne, and yeah, I mean, well, that we kind of expected that. We kind of expected either it be Julia or Stephanie Vakor. I was kind of going for Julia because it seems like Julia is more of the top girl, whereas Stephanie is, I think she might go after the women's North American title. But yeah, it was interesting seeing them kind of confront each other in the ring. Julia has a very unique look, and I mean that in a good way. Obviously, she's obviously a very attractive woman. Um, is she Italian and Japanese, Justin?
Yes.
Okay, then that's why. I still haven't seen her wrestle. I probably do need to do that so I can know what I'm in for. But yeah, she's finally in NXT. I know the next NXT pay-per-view event is next month, and that's Halloween Havoc, which is actually going to be a pay-per-view this time. It's not just going to be like an episode of NXT. So good. And then there's also the first episode of NXT on CW, which is October 1st. So, but yeah, guys, thoughts on Julia finally debuting?
Super happy to finally see her in the WWE and in a WWE ring. I think with her coming in, we're gonna start to see the catalyst, the change within the women's division that is gonna get. I don't know. I obviously I don't think they're gonna like let Julia be fully Julia as far as like her physicality, kind of like with Nakamura. Nakamura has first match with Sami Zayn. That was possibly like one of the most, that was like the most physical we saw Nakamura in WWE, right? So I don't think we're gonna get that version of Julia, but she's a very charismatic, very talented in-ring performer, and with her and Stephanie Vacure and possibly Bozilla and Delta, this women's division is gonna be looking very different in 2025, and that's not to account of possibly more names that they may come from the Indies or possibly even a Jordan Grace, because I believe her contract ends at the end of this year. I believe for
Zeta
Jordan Grace.
Steel was just signed.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Zeta Steele was just signed, but
Yeah,
she's rumored to be being fast tracked to the main roster.
yeah. So so it's gonna look different. It's gonna look different next year, but regardless, though, she's gonna be the flag bearer, the new face of the women's division for NXT. When you think about the names of, Paige and and the Four Horsewomen, and Asuka, Io. Now you got Roxy and Mandy Rose. Even right now the next generation is gonna be, Stephanie Vacquier, Julia and Delta. So, and there's other names there that are there right now that's going to be improving. Thea Hell, super young, still improving. Jada Parker, nice showing tonight as well. Kalani Jordan, you got Carmen Petrovic and Soloruka and just a ton of names down there, a ton of talented women down there. NXT has the deepest women's roster in pro wrestling, period.
Agreed.
And the fact that you're going to be adding more depth, top top of the line depth to this roster is just only going to make this division even better. So I can't wait to see what Julia does.
Jeff, what do you think about Julia?
When she came in with swagger. The crowd knew who she was. Um, wouldn't have known who she was if her name wasn't up there. I mean, I've seen pictures of her, but it was always with sort of like sort of colored braids, different hairstyle, and the more typical sort of Japanese Joshi stardom woman attire. Um, she's a lot lankier than I thought. I thought she was going to be a little bit more, not like Bianca or Bozilla, but I thought she was going to be maybe a little bit more Charlotte Flair. Kind of musculature. Um, but we'll see. I mean, it's fun. It's good. I'm not as excited to see all these other imports in. I'm sort of committed to, I'm worried about my Kiana James, who's lost there who's doing nothing on the main roster. I want to know what's going on with JC Jane, and I like Jasmine Nix, and all the other women that we've mentioned. I'm not interested in Stephanie Vacquier or Julia or Delta. We have Rhea Ripley. So, but don't worry about me. I'll get over it, and I'm just being silly anyway. I don't know what you do with all of these people if they all do matriculate and get good enough. I mean, they can't all stay in NXT. There's not enough room on the main roster. The world doesn't need any more wrestling. I think that AEW has proved that you really only need two big companies or one big company and a bunch of sort of semi, mid majors. Um, but if you have two biggish companies, the others die. I don't know what to do with all of them. I mean, I feel very much like this is a marketplace where there's a bubble and it's going to burst, because the wrestling market isn't that big to begin with. But anyway, that's an economist perspective, and that's really not what we're talking about today. It was fine. It was good. It was all right. They had a face off. I didn't find her as physically imposing or as impressive as I was expecting. I have never watched a full match of hers. I'm not going to do what you're going to do and watch full matches of hers. I don't care. I'll be happy enough to see the first ones on NXT TV. That's fine. That's fine for me. But whatever. Cool. I just, I'm not so thrilled that someone just gets to step up to the front of the line when I'm invested in 30 other women who were already there. But I don't know. I guess I'm just a fuddy duddy yelling, "Build the wall." That was a closing line.
I wasn't expecting that last bit, but okay. All right, so let's move on to the main event. You have the NXT Championship. You have Ethan Page, the champion, versus Joe Hendry, with Trick Williams as the special guest referee. This was not a terrible match. Not really anything to write home about. It was a good match. I would just say it was a very well paced, good, serviceable wrestling match. Um, Ethan Page, I think, he's the definition of just okay, but I think he's doing a good job in his role. And it kind of looks like he's kind of looks like he lost a little bit of weight and he's starting to kind of get in better shape. Not to say he was fat or anything, but he looks like he slimmed down a little bit. Joe Hendry, I like Joe Hendry. Take away the gimmick, he's just okay in the ring. I know Justin has mentioned before, it's like LA Knight, but LA Knight's much better in the ring.
Well, I didn't say LA Knight was much better in the ring. I just said that he's in comparison to LA Knight. I think they're both in comparison the same as far as in ring wise. I mean, gimmicks are fucking great on both sides of the coin, but as far as in ring, like nothing very special, very simple, very paint by the numbers. Nothing wrong with that, but once you get past the gimmick, you just have a average in-ring wrestler, and I don't know how far that's gonna actually carry. In this case, Joe Hendry. I may be wrong. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully this will carry him to possibly getting a WWE contract if that's what he wants to pursue, and that there hopefully he wins the TNA championship. But again, like his in ring is just very average and it's there. But again, in comparison to like someone that'll be on the indies, he'll be the best wrestler, at any indie show too. So there's that.
Right. I mean, like when you kind of look at it in a vacuum, this almost seemed like it was the main event of a Ring of Honor show in like 2012. But yeah, just again, it was a fine wrestling match. Nothing too overly exciting about it. I mean, the crowd was obviously into it. They were chanting for Trick. They were chanting for Joe Hendry. And it was a little predictable towards the end. I think we predicted like Trick turns heel, but looking at it, it kind of didn't make sense because it was like, well, he's gonna wrestle Pete Dunne, so I don't see where the heel part would come in. But I mean, tonight, that's what I was thinking tonight when I was kind of thinking about it. But towards the end of the match, there was a blown ref spot, where the referee, or no, there's a spot where Joe Hendry gets pushed into Trick. Trick gets knocked out. Another referee comes in, and then Ethan Page DDTs Hendry onto the belt, which the ref saw. Which I don't know how that wasn't a disqualification, but okay. As he's about to go.
Joe Hendry introduced the belt into the ring.
Okay. As the ref's going for the count, Trick stops the ref. Trick gets in Ethan Page's face. Ethan Page goes for a swing, knocks down the other ref. Trick is checking on the ref. Joe Hendry's about to go for his finisher, and then Ethan Page kicks him in the nuts. Goes for the Ego's Edge. 1, 2, 3. So Ethan Page is still the NXT champion. And afterwards, Pete Dunne pulls out Trick and hits him, which was kind of a underwhelming way to end the pay-per-view, but that's the end of that's your main event, people. Any thoughts on the match?
Match was fine. Did what it needs to do, but if we're honest, this was just a regular NXT main event match.
Yeah, I think he's right. I think
That's
what
all.
you said.
That's all this was. That's all this was. Not a bad match, but this could have just been on Tuesday night, and it would have produced the same exact thing. The angle that they did in the show felt like it was for TV, not for a pay per view.
Right.
Joe Hendry was super over though. Super over. People were waving their hands in the air. You know what I mean? Waving their hands in the air like they just don't care, right? But at the end of the day, though, this wasn't anything special. I think right now, what they're waiting for the NXT Championship is for October 1st, for the NXT show and the possible debut of Ricky Starks. And that's when things are going to go to the next level for the main event division. Right now, the main division NXT is very lackluster. Where you have a TNA guy come in, come in main event your one of your PLEs. So that should tell you the state of the main event division for NXT. So
You're not wrong. Jeff, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you say Pete Dunne, you almost don't need to say underwhelming anymore because, like, he's the very definition of it, underwhelming. I've always said it before, and I know that 4 years ago you were allowed to say it was funny. Now you're not allowed to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. He still looks like a ugly lesbian. So there you go. Yay, everyone, cancel me. So obviously Pete Dunne's going to lose, but this match was not about exciting wrestling spots. This was about, will Trick Williams call it down the middle? How is he going to navigate his biases, and what he wants to see happen, versus having to call it down the middle, and what kind of shenanigans will the bad guy get away with, and so it was about the ref spot and Trick hitting the ref accidentally and bringing in a belt, and Trick interrupting a 3 count because for whatever reason he'd rather face Ethan Page than face Joe Hendry. I mean, why? Because they're both faces. You'd think that he'd rather face the guy who's a career minor leaguer as opposed to Ethan Page, who's obviously all elite. But yeah, this match was okay. I thought it was fun. It was fine. It didn't wow it for me. I think I would have preferred the women's match be the main event, but obviously it couldn't be for, well, I don't even really know the reasons why, to be honest. I mean, I think Julia at the end was a lot more.
I would have done the women's match as the main event for sure.
I
If
think
this
Julia,
is the way that the show was gonna, they could have just ended with Julia. I think
Right.
the show would have been talked about way more right
I
now
think
than
I
it
think
is.
Jeff pointed out something earlier in the show where I'm just paraphrasing, that the show was kind of oddly paced as far as like match placement, because I thought the women's title match should have, at least looking back on it, yeah, it should have closed the show because they've been making a big deal about Julia. But if that's the case, it should have been at least maybe like the second or third match and not before the main event, because I think by that time the show kind of peaked. But continue, Jeff.
yeah, no, I mean, I think that we're all saying the same thing. This could have been one of those, special NXTs, which over 2 weeks or, one night was, like a PLE quality level show, but on TV. There were plenty of times during the show where I'm like, yeah, I could use a commercial break to go get some water or go to the bathroom or whatever. I didn't feel like I was seeing, something par excellence. Um, but I liked it. This would have been a really great episode of weekly NXT as far as from a PLE, not on an afternoon because this was a night show. And, granted, I wasn't going anywhere, but if I was a younger person, tomorrow's the day off, I could have gone out. If I stayed home instead of going out for this, I probably would have been a little bit upset. Um, I know that you do grades on this show. I'm going to give the show, I want to say C, but I think it's really a C minus. I think it was just okay. I think nothing was wrong with it. If it was regular TV, I probably would have said, "What an A plus show, TV show." But for a PLE, I'm going to go with a C minus. I think they sort of botched the debut of Julia that they've been talking about now for 6 or 7 months. For part of that time, that was like, you know, sinking the Japanese fleet. That was like the sign of the, that's like, Hall and Nash coming back to WWE. They were acting like that was like some giant turn of a battle, and then it just sort of happens. So I don't know.
Agreed.
To quote, what was it, Randy Jackson from American Idol, it's just okay for me, dog.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we're jumping into our ratings. Yeah, about the same, Jeff. C minus. Um, I don't even know if I would say if it was better than Bash at Berlin. I would say
It wasn't.
no. Like Bash in Berlin, I think was slightly better. Um, but yeah, just yeah, this show tonight, C minus. Uh, for the most part, I forget who mentioned it, but just felt like just a really good episode of NXT, but didn't feel like a PLE.
Everybody
But
else said it.
and the crowd was kind of not bad, but just kind of weird. Like usually Denver crowds are kind of weird. You
Well,
can't really.
I think the reason, and I can probably explain that, is that because they're gonna have Raw tomorrow in Denver as well, so they may have sold um tickets like ticket packages, like, hey, buy Raw, go to, you could be able to go to No Mercy the night before. And I think a lot of those people may not have been fully immersed in NXT, may be familiar with it, but like probably don't really know about, like, oh, who's this Klein Jordan girl? Why is Winnie Chu, heel now? Who's this Jaya Parker girl? So I really think that in some instances, some of the folks there, not everybody, there's obviously NXT fans there, but some of the instances I think the crowd fell a little bit flat because of some of those people that they probably just they're not very familiar with what's going on in NXT right now.
Right. All right. Agreed. Justin, overall grade.
6.5 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. Little lower than us.
Yeah,
eh,
I mean, in comparison for an NXT show, it was a fine show because a five is average. So a five's average, and 6.5 is a good show. So I thought this was a good show. Nothing great though. So there's that.
all right. Match of the night. Least favorite match of the night. What do you guys think?
Well, my match of the night is the opener. I thought that tag match was very, very good. I will say least favorite match of the night will probably be probably Kalani and Wendy.
Right.
That'll probably be my least favorite match of the night. Even though I
Uh,
still thought that match was fine. So
Jeff, what do you think?
My match of the night was the women's NXT championship match. I think I said that earlier. And my least favorite match, I had already forgotten about it, and I was thinking about it very hard while Justin was speaking. I remember it's the Wesley Trey Miguel match, or Zachary Wentz. I don't even know who he was fighting. It was Zachary Wentz, I guess. I didn't care about the match then. I don't care about it now. I won't care about it tomorrow.
All right. My favorite match of the night, I mentioned it. Obafemi and Tony D'Angelo. I don't know, just something about it worked for me. I liked it. I like a big Haas match. Least favorite match, Kalani and Wendy. That's really about it. And I guess, honorable mention. I guess, I'm gonna throw that in as far as like another least favorite match. I guess the main event. The main event wasn't terrible by any means, but it just was just it was there. It was serviceable. It was a match. Wasn't terrible. Didn't do anything overly bad or offensive or even like great. It was a match. It was a
We've also just seen a match with a guest referee, which was done excellently with Punk and Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins.
agreed.
And
But
so this felt very small next to that.
agreed. But that's our NXT No Mercy review, people. We hope you enjoyed it. Everybody on YouTube, everybody in the Discord chat on Wrestling Soup. Guys, go ahead and plug yourself. Whoever wants to start.
Of course. I'll start off here with myself. You know who I am, Justin from Spinebuster Tees. SpinebusterTees.com. Go and get yourself a t-shirt. The Just Enjoy Wrestling t-shirt. You have the Weapons of Pro Wrestling t-shirt, the Match Types of Pro Wrestling t-shirt, the Vanilla Midget t-shirt, the Pineapple Pizza Hill Heat t-shirt, and many other designs on the website on SpinebusterTees.com. Visit me at Spinebuster Tees at the Wonderlands of the Americas, where I have plenty of t-shirts, as I mentioned before, but also as well action figures, Funko Pops, lucha masks, wrestling socks, trading cards, everything for a pro wrestling fan's dream. You can be able to go in and find in my shop and definitely enjoy visiting. And also Spinebuster Tees on Instagram. That's where you'll keep up to date with me. And you'll be able to keep up to date with what I'm doing in my shop and new things I'm getting in my shop as well. So, but that's Spinebuster Tees on Instagram, Spinebuster Tees at the Wonderland of the Americas, and SpinebusterTees.com. Also, as well, Drew, I forgot to send you this, but I do have a podcast out right now with Tall Can Listening, where we talked about my. I guess my journey from where I used to do before to what I do now, and it was a very fun podcast. Probably one of the more fun podcasts ever done. So check out Tall Can Listening. They're on Spotify, and go give that a listen if you like.
Right. Jeff, go ahead.
Wow, pineapple pizza heel heat. Jeez, that's.
Look, it could go both ways. Like either you hate pineapple pizza, so you buy the shirt, or you love pineapple pizza and you're getting heel heat for wearing the shirt. So it goes both ways.
Either way, you're choosing violence. I like it.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Where can you find me? All right, so I have sort of retired from the pro wrestling podcast game, except you wouldn't know it because I'm like a professional guest now, like when Kevin Castle was a free agent. So I'm all over the place. I've been on Pro Wrestle Times probably once a week, once every 10 days. I guested on a couple of podcasts that invited me on. That was very kind of them. And of course, Drew, I'll see you again for Halloween Havoc, the next NXT PLE. And if there's significant enough legal issues to talk about where law and wrestling intersect, I'll do another black letter body slam for Wrestling Soup, which, I've probably done 5 or 6 of them now, and I don't think any of them have been more than 30 minutes, and they're usually closer to, 15 to 18 minutes. But my podcast that still exists, Garden of Doom, which comes with 2 other titles, Garden Views and Garden of Doom Presents Book of Black. So what's Garden of Doom? Garden of Doom is eclectic, esoteric, occult, arcane, UFOs, cryptids, history, alternative history, things that go bump in the night, anything that makes me curious, like things like who are the Berbers, who are the Huns, just mysteries of history. Of course, Bigfoot, Atlantis, Tartaria, Lemuria, you name it, we've got it. Horror writers, independent movie makers, you name it. Garden Views, sort of in the same vein of things that make me curious, but much closer to law, business, tech, science, real politics. Some of the guests are really top notch. Actually, some of the guests on Garden Doom are as well. I mean, I've really upped my professors, people who've done the great courses, New York Times best-selling authors. But Garden Views, like the most recent episode, was with an astrobiologist. And so we talked about all sorts of fun things that you can only talk about with an astrobiologist, or at least intelligently with an astrobiologist. Mostly the intelligent stuff was on his end, of course. And what's Garden of Doom Presents Book of Black? Well, that's me and my co-host, Dr. PJ Black, the professor. PJ Black, yes, former Justin Gabriel pro wrestler. And we talk to people in and around the wrestling world about Garden of Doom type things. So we've had on Austin Idol, most of you probably know him as Damien Sandow. We've had Tyrus on. The show with Jimmy Jacobs drops tomorrow. We've already recorded with George Iceman, who is Ash by Elegance's personal concierge. And obviously earlier I relayed I'm a sucker for that kind of gimmick. Super Panda has been on, and also The Raider, but his show is so controversial. The Raider isn't even his real fake wrestling name. so none of you will know who he is. And we just booked Renee Michelle, Drake Maverick, Spud's wife, and she's going to talk about Orishas, and we're hoping to get some of one thing about PJ Black is everybody loves PJ Black for a variety of reasons. We're going to mix it up and, going to get some big names and talk about some surprising things. So if any of that seems to tickle your fancy, just subscribe to Garden of Doom. You can find it on the Wrestling Soup Network or wherever fine podcasts are, and you get all 3 shows. There's no charge, there's no Patreon, there's no super chats, there's no paywalls, no nothing. Yeah. So anyway,
Love the
check it
game,
out.
baby.
Yeah, I have gone way too long in my plug once again.
Hey man, get all your shit in, brother. And then as for me, DY Experience on Twitter X, Instagram. There's a Facebook page and the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel for the Experience. We've been streaming on YouTube for about a month, right?
Yeah, about close to a month now. Yeah.
Yeah, close to a month. So and it's been really fun so far. So yeah, get those subscribers up. Want to try maybe get to at least maybe like 500. It's supposed to be 500. Like to qualify for monetization, it's 500 at least. So yeah, get those numbers up, people, and just like and subscribe. And then the podcast you can hear on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes. If you can be so kind to go to iTunes and just leave a review, a rating, do whatever you need to do. And what else? And just shout outs to everybody who are our friends in this podcasting world of ours. And of course, thank you to Mish from Wrestling Soup who gave us this platform to do our show on. But and yeah, just every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Time after AEW Dynamite on the Wrestling Soup Discord as well as the YouTube channel. So But yeah, shout out to everybody who are our friends. All right, people. The audio portion I'm gonna work on. It'll be up at 10 in the morning tomorrow. And yeah. So from me and Justin and also Jeff to you guys, thank you for joining us. Have a good weekend. We hope you enjoyed all the wrestling this weekend. So
Good weekend. It was a good weekend of pro wrestling.
Oh yeah, definitely. And whether it was TNA or WWE, we hope you enjoyed it. So, anyways, people, take care and have fun and be safe. Peace.
Stay home, my friends.
Peace.